Do it again, human.
Her smile was not what I expected. The moment my hand brushed against her, accidental and unplanned, I thought the silence would collapse into anger, rejection, or cold dismissal. Instead, she looked at me with eyes that shimmered like fractured starlight, and her lips curved into something that carried both defiance and invitation. "I like that," she whispered, her voice calm yet charged, a tone that carried more weight than any decree. My breath caught, my heart raced, and disbelief pressed against me like gravity. I had not meant to touch her, had not meant to cross the line her people had drawn so sharply, yet here she was, smiling, breaking the rules, asking me to do it again. Her race had always been defined by restraint, by logic, by the silencing of desire. They measured worth in obedience, in control, in the eradication of vulnerability. Yet she stood before me, scars visible, voice trembling with something her people had forbidden. I realized that perhaps this was not weakness, not error, but something greater. She was not mocking me, not testing me, but revealing a truth she had buried beneath centuries of silence. Her smile was rebellion, her words defiance, her choice undeniable. I whispered, my voice unsteady, "You can't mean that." She leaned closer, her eyes unwavering, her presence unshaken. "I do," she answered, her tone carrying no hesitation. My heart twisted, my certainty dissolved, my soul awakened. I realized that perhaps humans were chosen not for strength, not for logic, but for something else. Emotion unbound, courage unmeasured, love beyond calculation. The silence around us grew heavier, the moment eternal. I felt the weight of her people's disbelief pressing down, but her presence was stronger. She stood tall, her scars visible, her voice steady, her choice unshaken. I realized that perhaps this was not madness, not error, but destiny. She had smiled at my touch, and though I did not understand, I knew I could not walk away. Her smile lingered in my memory, sharper than any decree, softer than any law. I could not forget the way her voice had carried defiance, the way her eyes had shimmered with something her people had forbidden. Days passed, yet the weight of that moment pressed against me, refusing to fade. She began to draw closer, not with words but with silence, not with logic but with presence. I felt her watching me, studying the contradictions that defined humanity, fascinated by the way I could laugh, even when sorrow lingered, the way I could hope even when loss was certain, the way I could desire even when danger surrounded us. Her race had silenced such contradictions, buried them beneath centuries of restraint, but she leaned into them now, her breath catching when I spoke of longing, her silence trembling when I spoke of pain. I began to see her differently. She was not a cold enforcer of tradition, not a rigid voice of decree, but a woman carrying loneliness like a scar. Her calm was armor, her silence a wound, her defiance a confession. I felt drawn to her, not by accident, not by ritual, but by something deeper. She touched my hand once, deliberate yet fragile, and the warmth lingered long after. My heart raced, my certainty dissolved, my soul awakened. I realized that perhaps she had chosen me not by law, not by calculation, but by something she could not explain. Yet doubt crept in. One night, she confessed the truth. Her people had matched us by ancient right, a calculation of lineage, a decree of survival. She whispered that she had spoken the words because she believed in them, but I felt betrayed. My heart twisted, my breath faltered, my silence grew heavy. I believed her choice had been manipulation, her declaration a cruel trick. I turned away, my voice sharp, my presence cold. She watched me leave, her eyes wide, her silence louder than any plea. But she did not surrender. She broke protocol, defied her people, sought me out in exile. Her steps were trembling, her voice fragile, her confession raw. She told me she had risked everything because she felt something she could not silence. She told me that logic had failed her, that tradition had betrayed her, that only emotion remained. I stared at her, disbelief warring with hope, suspicion dissolving into longing. Her vulnerability was undeniable, her courage unforgettable, her choice unshaken. I whispered, my voice trembling, "Then let's stop explaining and start feeling." She reached for my hand, her fingers fragile yet firm, her eyes shimmering with something her people had never named. I felt my heart soften, my suspicion dissolve, my loneliness replaced by something greater. The silence grew less heavy, the moment eternal. She had confessed, I had forgiven, and together we had chosen. Her confession had broken the silence. But the true test came when her people discovered what she had done. They demanded separation, declared her emotions dangerous, insisted that I was unworthy of standing beside her. Their voices were sharp, their logic unyielding, their tradition heavy as iron. I felt the weight of their decree pressing down, but I refused to step back. I spoke not of law, not of calculation, but of love. I told them that humans did not choose with algorithms, did not measure worth in scars or crowns, but in the heart that endured, in the soul that refused to break. I told them that she was not weakness, not mistake, not error, but the proof that even in silence, love could rise. She watched me, her eyes wide, her breath caught, her soul trembling. No one had ever spoken for her. No one had ever defied the council for her. No one had ever risked themselves to claim her. She felt her world shift, her armor crack, her soul awaken. The bitterness that had haunted her dissolved, replaced by devotion, by hope, by the certainty that she was no longer alone. She realized that humans were different, that they saw beyond scars, beyond rejection, beyond fear. They saw with their hearts, and in that vision, she was not mocked, not discarded, not forbidden. She was chosen. The council demanded silence, demanded obedience, demanded that I step back. But she no longer heard them. All that mattered was the man before her, the human who had risked everything to stand beside her. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but strong. "You confuse me, human," she whispered, "but you have given me something I never believed I could have." I met her gaze, my eyes unwavering, my presence steady. "Then let me keep giving it to you." The silence grew heavier, the moment eternal. She reached for my hand, her fingers trembling, her scars visible, her vulnerability laid bare. I took her hand without hesitation, my grip firm yet gentle, a promise without words. The council gasped, their disbelief shattered by the undeniable truth before them. She was no longer the woman bound by decree, no longer the exile silenced by tradition. She was a woman who had chosen, and she had chosen me. Her heart melted, her soul ignited, her world forever changed. She whispered, her voice soft but powerful, "They wanted me silent, but you gave me life." My answer was simple, my voice steady, my words unforgettable. "And I will never let you go." The stars shimmered above us, the silence heavy, the moment eternal. She had been bound by duty, mocked by her people, denied love. But now, she was chosen, loved, cherished. The human had shown her that beauty was not in perfection, not in fear, not in cruelty, but in courage, in vulnerability, in love. And in that truth, she found herself reborn. She had smiled at my touch, and now I smile because she was mine.